The story you are about to hear may change the way you look at the most loyal companion humanity has ever known. For thousands of years, dogs have walked beside us, guardians, friends, protectors, healers, in ways we never fully understood. They are woven into the very fabric of human civilization. From ancient hunting tribes who relied on them for survival, to modern families who treat them as children, dogs have always had a place in our hearts. But what if I told you that their connection to us was foretold by one of the most mysterious men in history? What if I told you that their role in our lives goes beyond companionship, beyond loyalty, into something almost supernatural? This is not fantasy. This is prophecy. And according to Edgar Cayce, the man known as the Sleeping Prophet, it is unfolding right now before our very eyes. Cayce's legacy is vast and shrouded in awe. Between 1919 and 1944, he gave more than 14,000 documented readings while in a self-induced trance state, often while sleeping, hence the name. His words predicted world wars, economic collapses, political assassinations, the rise and fall of nations, and even medical cures that were years ahead of their time. Scientists, historians, and believers still comb through his archives, astonished at how one man could glimpse truths beyond his era. Among these predictions was one that at the time seemed almost trivial, so much so that it was overlooked. He spoke of dogs, not as mere pets, not as simple companions, but as spiritual instruments. He suggested that the time would come when dogs would rise in importance, not just in the daily lives of humans, but in their emotional, mental, and even spiritual survival. And now, in the 21st century, we are seeing that prophecy ignite like fire. Pause for a moment and think about what dogs are already doing today. Across the world, there are countless documented cases where dogs have acted beyond explanation. They have saved children from drowning before the danger was even visible. They have barked relentlessly until their owners discovered hidden fires smoldering in their homes. More chillingly, they have detected cancer in humans without medical equipment, without training, simply by sniffing their owner's body and refusing to leave a particular spot. These are not fairy tales, they are real, verifiable stories recorded by doctors, families, and scientists. And Cayce seemed to have known, decades ago, that this was coming. But his prophecy was not simply about dogs being smart, it was about them becoming vessels for healing, in a time when human beings would be broken, lost, and desperate for connection. Look around today, and you will see a society drowning in loneliness. Mental health crises are skyrocketing. Depression and anxiety are at epidemic levels. Families are fractured, and many people spend their days behind screens, disconnected from nature, from others, even from themselves. And into this chaos steps the dog, silent, loyal, and unconditionally loving. Is it a coincidence? Or is it the very prophecy Edgar Cayce left for us? In one of his readings, Cayce spoke of animals as souls in evolution, journeying alongside humanity. He hinted that certain creatures, particularly dogs, were tied closely to the spiritual growth of humans. He described them as companions of the soul, beings that had been chosen to walk with man, to teach lessons of loyalty, patience, healing, and unconditional love. Dogs were not simply accidents of evolution, they were divinely appointed partners in the human journey. For decades, these words were dismissed by skeptics. After all, to the modern mind, prophecy and spirituality are uncomfortable topics, and the idea that your Labrador or German Shepherd might have a destiny beyond being a pet seemed absurd. But today, scientific research and real-world events are forcing people to reconsider. Consider the rise of therapy dogs. In hospitals, prisons, schools, and disaster zones, specially trained dogs are being brought in to heal trauma, calm anxiety, and provide emotional balance. Soldiers returning from war with PTSD often find relief not in pills, but in the quiet presence of a dog who rests beside them through the night. Children with autism, who cannot make eye contact with people, suddenly open their hearts to dogs. Nursing home residents who no longer recognize their families still smile and hold out their hands when a dog walks into the room. This is not random. This is the unfolding of something deeper, something Cayce foresaw. He said that in times of great human suffering, when technology would advance but souls would feel empty, dogs would rise as healers. Look around you. Are we not in that very moment? And it doesn't end there. The stories become stranger the more you dig. In one widely reported case, a woman's dog would not stop sniffing her side day after day, ignoring food, ignoring rest, until she went to see a doctor. The doctors were stunned to find a tumor exactly where the dog had been fixated. In another case, a dog woke a family in the middle of the night, dragging them from bed and forcing them outside, moments before a carbon monoxide leak could have ended their lives. Scientists are still studying how dogs can detect changes in human hormones, heartbeats, and even brain activity, often before humans themselves realize something is wrong. Edgar Cayce once said that animals, especially dogs, were attuned to energies that humans could not perceive, energies connected to the unseen, the spiritual. Is it possible that dogs are sensing things we cannot explain because they are fulfilling a role set in motion long ago? Animal shelters are also reporting a phenomenon that aligns perfectly with this prophecy. Dogs are not just being chosen by humans. Dogs seem to be choosing their owners. Volunteers tell stories of dogs ignoring dozens of potential adopters, only to leap into the arms of one person, as if knowing their pain. Some of these pairings later reveal startling synchronicities. The person had just lost a loved one, was battling depression, or was struggling in silence. And yet somehow the dog seemed to know. Edgar Cayce's words echo here. Animals as companions of the soul, drawn not by chance, but by a spiritual tether. We must pause and ask, if Cayce could see the wars of the 20th century, the fall of economies, the shifts of nations, why would he take the time to mention dogs? Why did he believe this was important enough to include in his thousands of readings? The answer may be simpler than we think. Humanity is not just sustained by political systems or scientific achievements. We are sustained by love, by connection, by forces that cannot be measured by machines. And when those forces begin to vanish from human society, when people become lost in technology and ambition, something has to bring them back. Cayce may have known that dogs would become the bridge between humans and nature, between loneliness and healing, between despair and hope. This is where the prophecy unfolds before us with chilling clarity. We are living in an age when artificial intelligence grows smarter by the day, when machines are replacing human interaction, when digital screens dominate more hours than real human touch. People are speaking less, feeling less, and believing less. Yet at the same time, there is a growing movement toward therapy animals, toward emotional support dogs, toward the very creatures Cayce described as essential for the soul. He foresaw not only events of nations, but the quiet, powerful role of dogs in restoring what technology would take away. Think about the last time you looked into a dog's eyes. There is no judgment there, no agenda, no betrayal. There is only presence. That gaze holds a mirror to our own humanity. For many, that simple gaze has been the difference between life and death. There are reports of people on the edge of suicide who stopped, who reconsidered, because their dog nudged their hand or curled up beside them as if to say, "I am here. You are not alone." Can we still call this mere coincidence? Or is it evidence of something divine, something Cayce was warning us not to overlook? And as strange as it sounds, some researchers now believe that dogs are evolving faster than we realize. They are learning to interpret human emotions in ways that defy explanation. Studies show dogs can recognize human facial expressions, detect subtle emotional shifts in voices, and even mirror human moods. It is as though they are becoming more human-like as we become more machine-like. What if this too is part of the prophecy? What if dogs are rising to meet us halfway because the human soul needs saving? The prophecy of Edgar Cayce about dogs is not a relic of the past. It is alive, breathing, barking, wagging its tail, and sleeping at our feet. It is happening now, in hospitals, in shelters, in homes, in dark moments when all hope seems lost. Dogs are no longer just animals. They are healers, protectors, and perhaps even spiritual guides. Cayce foresaw it. We are living it, and the story has only just begun. Edgar Cayce's vision was not vague mysticism. He believed the human journey could not be separated from the natural world. Dogs, he suggested, were more than companions. They were mirrors of our emotional states. And in the unfolding chaos of modern life, their role is becoming clearer every day. Scientists today have confirmed what Cayce hinted. Dogs can smell biochemical changes in our bodies. They know when our stress hormones spike, when our blood sugar drops, or when a seizure is about to occur. This ability transcends ordinary senses. It feels almost like an inherited spiritual gift. In fact, hospitals now recruit dogs specifically trained to sense early warning signs in patients. These animals have saved countless lives simply by alerting doctors before machines detected the problem. How could Cayce have known nearly a century ago that this time would come? It feels prophetic. Dogs are also emerging as silent counselors in mental health. For veterans haunted by memories of war, medication often falls short, yet the quiet presence of a dog lying beside them at night becomes an anchor. Anxiety lessens, nightmares ease. For some, survival itself depends on this companionship. Cayce once remarked that dogs embodied unconditional loyalty. In his worldview, this was not random. Loyalty to him was a divine attribute, a force the human soul desperately needed. In a world where betrayal and mistrust corrode relationships, dogs are restoring faith by showing humans loyalty in its purest form. Shelters across the world are recording stories that sound like modern-day parables. A grieving widow enters, broken, unwilling to live. One dog rushes to her, refusing to leave her side. Weeks later, she admits the dog saved her life. Coincidence? Or the exact fulfillment of Cayce's mysterious prophecy? Therapy programs are multiplying. Airports, schools, disaster relief centers, all are bringing in dogs to calm fear and restore order. Children separated from parents in crises hold on to dogs and stop crying. Strangers find comfort in their touch. It's as though humanity is slowly realizing Cayce was right all along. There's something profoundly spiritual here. In many cultures, dogs were seen as guides between worlds. Ancient Egyptians believed dogs accompanied souls into the afterlife. Native American traditions viewed dogs as protectors of the spirit. Cayce's words connected with this timeless truth, anchoring dogs as part of humanity's divine story. Recent studies show dogs are evolving alongside us. They now understand human gestures better than even chimpanzees. They know when a finger points. They read emotions on our faces. Some scientists believe their bond with us is not simply biological. It is spiritual coevolution. Perhaps Cayce saw this spiritual contract unfolding. But what makes this prophecy chilling is its timing. Cayce spoke of an age when people would feel more disconnected than ever, surrounded by technology, yet starved of real connection. Look at today's world. Loneliness is rampant, families are fragmented, and social media creates more isolation than unity. Into this emptiness steps the dog, not demanding words, not requiring explanations, simply offering presence. For millions of people, that presence is more healing than anything else. When you combine this with Cayce's foresight, it becomes clear. Dogs are not just pets. They are prophecy in motion. Consider children with autism who struggle to bond with others. Studies reveal they respond to dogs in ways they never do with humans. Heart rates stabilize, social responses improve, and speech begins to flow. These breakthroughs defy medicine, yet they fit perfectly into Cayce's vision of dogs as spiritual healers. Even prison systems are discovering the truth. Inmates who raise and train dogs experience dramatic emotional shifts. Aggression drops, empathy rises, hardened criminals cry when dogs show them trust. Rehabilitation succeeds where punishment failed. Cayce once said animals would teach us what we forget of love. Isn't that happening now? Then there are the unexplainable stories. Dogs traveling miles to return to their owners, appearing at grave sites of the deceased, or howling moments before disasters strike. Science offers partial explanations, but Cayce's words suggest something deeper. He believed animals were tuned to energies and realms beyond human perception. One striking account comes from Japan. After the 2011 tsunami, a dog refused to leave its injured companion trapped in rubble, guarding it until rescuers arrived. The image spread worldwide, symbolizing loyalty beyond human comprehension. Cayce said such displays were lessons for us, reminders of love we often abandon. Dogs have also entered the realm of spiritual comfort at life's end. Hospice programs increasingly use therapy dogs to sit with the dying. Families report that restless patients suddenly relax, fear dissolves, and peace descends. Cayce hinted that dogs had a role in guiding souls through thresholds of existence. Think about the symbolism. In life they heal us, in death they comfort us. This dual role is not random. It resonates with Cayce's teaching that animals journey with us spiritually. Dogs, it seems, are guardians not only of our bodies, but of our very souls. The economic and cultural rise of dogs also reflects this prophecy. Once regarded as property, they are now treated as family members. The pet industry has exploded into billions. But beyond commerce lies something deeper, an acknowledgement that these beings hold a sacred place in our homes and hearts. Some skeptics argue this is mere projection, that humans simply attribute meaning to loyal creatures. Yet the sheer number of verifiable cases, dogs detecting illness, saving lives, choosing owners, pushes the question further. Is this coincidence stacked upon coincidence? Or is it destiny unfolding exactly as Cayce described? Even researchers studying dogs admit they cannot fully explain it. Their noses can detect disease, but why do they persistently alert only when it matters most? Why do they comfort the exact people who need them? Cayce's framework offers the answer. They are divinely woven into humanity's survival. As society grows colder, dogs grow warmer. As trust in institutions collapses, trust in dogs rises. We turn to them not for technology, not for status, but for something ancient: connection, presence, healing. This reversal of roles feels almost orchestrated, as though destiny itself is speaking through wagging tails. And the timing matters. Cayce's prophecies often warned of crises: wars, earthquakes, spiritual decline. Yet alongside these dark predictions, he spoke of hope, forces that would guide humanity back. Dogs, he implied, were part of this hope. Not saviors in the political sense, but saviors of the human spirit. So when we ask why dogs, the answer lies in the human heart. They heal us not through words, but through love. They protect us not just physically, but emotionally. They sense what we cannot. They remind us of loyalty, compassion, and presence. They remind us who we once were. This is why Cayce's prophecy matters now more than ever. The world is unraveling in many ways: climate fears, economic uncertainty, spiritual emptiness. But in the quiet presence of a dog, people find stability. The prophecy is not about dogs changing the world. It is about them changing us. What makes Cayce's words extraordinary is that they reveal not only what dogs would do, but why humanity would need them. He foresaw a time when people, despite being surrounded by advanced technology, would feel emptier than ever. That emptiness is exactly what we witness today worldwide. Loneliness has become one of the greatest epidemics of modern times. Surveys show millions admitting they have no close friends. Families live under the same roof but barely speak. Anxiety fills silent rooms, and in those very rooms, a dog waits patiently, offering the kind of connection machines cannot replace. Cayce understood that love was medicine, and that its absence would make humans sick. He believed animals carried fragments of divine loyalty, meant to heal our fractured hearts. That is why his prophecy about dogs was not whimsical. It was central to the survival of the human soul. One of the most haunting aspects of his readings was the suggestion that animals, particularly dogs, volunteered spiritually to serve humanity. They did not simply evolve into companions, they chose to stand by us through history. Their sacrifice, their loyalty was not instinct alone. It was destiny written in creation's fabric. Today's countless testimonies prove this. From dogs who sit outside hospitals until owners return, to those who sense grief and climb into their human's lap at the right moment, the evidence accumulates daily. These are not accidents. They are threads of prophecy weaving together the sacred bond Cayce foresaw. In a way, dogs reveal truths we humans have forgotten. They do not care for wealth, status, or possessions. Their love is not conditional upon success or failure. They forgive mistakes instantly. Cayce's teachings implied that by observing animals, humanity could rediscover divine attributes buried beneath layers of ego. Dogs show us presence. Unlike people lost in regrets of yesterday or fears of tomorrow, a dog lives entirely in the now. Every wag, every glance, is a reminder to live in the moment. Perhaps this is why those suffering with anxiety find healing in their company. It pulls them back into presence. Consider also the symbolism in loyalty. Humans betray one another often. Relationships dissolve, promises break, trust erodes. Yet dogs remain steadfast, even when mistreated. Cayce believed this loyalty was meant as a divine lesson, a reflection of the faithfulness humans should show toward one another and toward higher spiritual truths. Modern therapy has barely scratched the surface of what dogs offer. Children unable to express trauma often find their first words speaking to a dog. Elderly patients slipping into dementia suddenly regain clarity when interacting with them. Each story echoes Cayce's vision: animals as spiritual aids, healing in ways humans cannot. There is also the mysterious phenomenon of dogs and death. Countless families recount dogs howling or changing behavior shortly before a loved one passes away. Some dogs even refuse to leave the bedside of the dying. Cayce hinted that animals were attuned to transitions between life and spirit. Hospice workers now rely on therapy dogs to ease final moments. Reports describe patients growing calmer, breathing more steadily, and showing peace where there was fear. Could this be the fulfillment of Cayce's statement that animals help guide souls? It seems undeniable, especially when patterns repeat across countless cases. Then we confront the question: if dogs are fulfilling prophecy now, what does the future hold? Cayce suggested animals would rise in importance as humanity's crises deepened. With mental health challenges escalating and disconnection growing, their role will likely become even more vital, perhaps even shaping cultural and spiritual practices. We are already seeing hints of this. Churches and community centers host pet blessings. Hospitals design entire wings to accommodate therapy animals. Schools adopt programs where reading aloud to dogs improves children's literacy. Step by step, society is integrating dogs as not just pets but partners in human healing. Even in disaster zones, dogs embody Cayce's vision. Search and rescue dogs, tirelessly combing rubble after earthquakes, save lives against impossible odds. Their determination stirs hope in survivors and rescuers alike. In those moments, they are more than animals. They are symbols of persistence, loyalty, and divine love acting through fur and paws. There is something profoundly humbling in this realization. While humans chase progress, power, and control, salvation often comes quietly through a dog's presence. Cayce foresaw that when humans felt most lost, salvation would arrive not from machines or empires, but from creatures offering silent loyalty and unconditional love. Think also of children growing up in fragmented homes. Studies reveal those with dogs often feel more secure and emotionally balanced. They trust easier, develop empathy faster, and carry less fear. In countless subtle ways, dogs are shaping the next generation, perhaps fulfilling Cayce's idea of animals guiding human growth. Skeptics argue prophecy is interpretation, not truth. Yet Cayce's predictions of global wars, medical discoveries, and natural disasters proved accurate. So why dismiss this one? If dogs are demonstrating supernatural senses, emotional healing, and soul-deep loyalty, perhaps it is time we accept that his prophecy is unfolding exactly as he described. It is easy to underestimate prophecy because it does not always appear in thunder or fire. Sometimes it appears in the quiet wag of a tail, the gentle nudge of a wet nose, the silent companionship on dark nights. Dogs are prophecy clothed in fur, overlooked because they are familiar. Yet familiarity is the point. Cayce suggested that divine truths often hide in plain sight, waiting for us to notice. Dogs have always been beside us, but only now are we awakening to their deeper role. Their prophecy is not future, it is present. It is alive every day around us. What then should humanity do with this realization? Perhaps the lesson is simple. Treat dogs not merely as possessions, but as partners in our spiritual journey. Respect their loyalty, cherish their presence, and learn from their lessons. In doing so, we honor not just them, but the prophecy itself. For those who doubt, look at the world today. Machines grow colder, society grows harsher, and people feel emptier. Yet millions still smile when greeted by a dog's unconditional love. That small joy, multiplied across homes and hearts, may be one of the last threads holding humanity together. And so Cayce's prophecy about dogs is not about them, it is about us. about what we need, what we have lost, and what we must remember. Dogs are healers, protectors, and guides. They are divine reminders. And the fact that we see this rising now proves his words were true. So when you next look at your dog, or even a stranger's, remember you are witnessing prophecy alive. You are seeing loyalty untouched by betrayal, love untainted by condition, presence unmarred by distraction. You are seeing exactly what Edgar Cayce tried to tell the world. Salvation sometimes arrives on four paws. That is why his prophecy matters today more than ever. Because in the end, the survival of humanity may not depend only on science, politics, or wealth. It may depend on something far simpler, far purer. Love embodied in creatures who ask for nothing in return but our companionship. Edgar Cayce saw it coming. We are living it. And every day dogs continue to remind us that in a world where everything changes, one truth remains eternal. Unconditional love heals. That was the prophecy. That is the unfolding. And that is happening now.